the main principle is that life occurs in words. Everything occurs in words. Okay, Mrs. Hausman said, Hausman, right?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausman said, you know, she spoke words on the phone, and I heard the words, and I said, okay, you know, our Kollel starts for some reason this week on Wednesday, so I was like, okay, I'm in, and so words were said, here I am, like literally created by words. Okay, words were said between my parents, and I was created. Okay, words are said, and this place was built. I know this shul forever. I remember doing, what was that program? I think it was Jewel, maybe. I don't know what it was. It was many years ago. I've done Kiruv here a few times for groups of girls that Aish brought. I don't think it was Jewel yet. Words were said, and the synagogue was built. Baruch Sha'amar v'haya ha'olam. That words, God spoke, and He created the world. Baruch Omer v'oseh. Blessed is He who speaks and does. Baruch Goyizer Mekayim. Blessed is He who decrees and fulfills that decree. It's nice to be sharing such things as decreeing and fulfilling that decree when, you know, please God, you guys shall all be starting off your families that you want your decrees to have gravity. You want your kids to be good kids, your words gotta mean something. It's very easy to set ground rules, and when the kids break them and give you that look of like, what are you gonna do about it? You know, and that you'll do something about it. Otherwise, the kids are wild, and they'll just keep walking all over you. What are your words worth? When you say you'll be here at a certain time, are you here at a certain time? How do you treat your words? Words are the most important thing in the world, and they're worth the most. Let me teach you, in the law of economics, there's the most important law you learn in the study of economics is that you only trade a lesser good for a greater good. You only trade a lesser good for a greater good. It always works. So, for example, I don't know, if you're wearing a watch or a piece of jewelry or a blouse or whatever, it costs a certain amount, and you saw it as the greater good. If you got an iced coffee there, so how much was that iced coffee? What? 14 shekels? Nice, nice. So what happened was you said that's worth less, your 14 shekels is worth less than the iced coffee. And the proof is you handed it to the seller, and they handed you this cup, and were feeling really happy that you believe that about the iced coffee. I mean, imagine how much an iced coffee costs to make. You know, what do you think it costs to make an iced coffee? Maybe a shekel? Plastic's probably worth more than the actual iced coffee. So it doesn't matter though, because perceived value is perceived value. That's it. If we perceive the value, we're in. You know, and there's nothing wrong with it. Perceived value is absolutely fine. Why do you think you see Coke commercials everywhere, billboards everywhere? They're trying to give us a perceived value. And that's important, or no one would ever buy that stuff, because a Coke's not worth a shekel. But we'll pay 5 shekels, we'll pay 7 shekels, we'll pay 10 shekels. In a restaurant, we'll pay 15 shekels. In a fancy restaurant, we might even pay 20 shekels for one of those things. And they try to keep the perceived value always up. You got to keep that perceived value. There's nothing wrong with it. And we trade a lesser good for the greater good all the time. You have decided to be here right now. I know one thing for sure about every one of you ladies is that you perceive this to be the greater value. It may be, it may not be. Maybe you had something better to do this hour. Could be you did. You'll find out. But you at least perceive this would be the greater time, the greater way to spend your hour. You perceive that. And hence, you traded what you might have been doing to get this. Everything works this way. This is a Galat law. It never fails. You always trade a lesser good for a greater good. And when you married your husbands, you also traded all other possibilities for that particular man. He was the greater good, and you traded a lesser good. And you definitely chose the lesser good of staying single. I hope it's worked out that was the lesser good. I'm sure it was, because the only thing worse than being single is the only thing worse than being married is being single. Your word is your greatest good. There's no greater good than your word. I so didn't want to call you and tell you I was going to run late today. Yeah, I know I was right on time, but if you knew where I was this morning, because I've been mountain biking like really, really far away from here, and I was deep in the bottom of a mountain in a forest. Like, I was probably 38 minutes before this class started, I was at the bottom of a mountain near Beitar, and my car was somewhere near the top of this mountain, towards Yerushalayim, and I just hauled with all my muscles I could get up this mountain. It was like a killer, and changed from my mountain bike gear into my civilian clothing, just at red lights on the way over to here, and only tucked my shirt in right outside the building. But I said at 11:15. It's 11:15 I walked in. You understand, like that's my word. And I so didn't want to call and say I'd be late, because my word is my bond, and it's your greatest good. That's what I want to share with you, ladies, is your word is your greatest good. And we don't treat it that way, but you gotta treat it that way. Your word is your greatest good, period. And it's worth losing money over it. I have a friend in Shari Chesed, a wealthy businessman. He's a student, and he's a graduate of the Possible You, where we train you in your integrity of speech. It's a lot of integrity of speech training. And he was on his longest business trip ever, 5 weeks to America without his wife and kids, 5 weeks in business. But he promised her by a particular Shabbos he'd be back. And he went off to his trip, and it's the last day, it's Thursday. He finishes his convention in Las Vegas. And Las Vegas is a bit of a problem airport. I just flew out of there, actually. I just did a Shabbaton in Las Vegas last Shabbos. And they tell you to come 2 hours in advance, even domestically, because conventions can let out at the same time. And then the whole airport gets flooded with people. So you have to come there like an international flight, even domestic. But he blew that, missed his flight. Now, his flight was to fly further west to LA and then get the nonstop El Al all the way to Yerushalayim to arrive at Erev Shabbos. But he missed his flight, and it was no longer possible for him to get that flight. And what would have been reasonable would have been to call his wife and say, honey, I'm sorry, I can't make it. But he's a graduate of the Possible You Seminar, and Possible You Seminar graduates work in the miraculous. And what's the miraculous? When you are unreasonable about your words. When you are unreasonable. Let me explain how this works, and then I'll go back to the story. You see, every decision you make is based on reasons. So like somehow being here this morning had more reasons than anything else you do, so these reasons won, and you decided to be here. Now, if your phone rang right now and it was like, quick run home because, if you open your mail now, you win the lottery or something, and you're going to suddenly have 1,000,000 shekels, but you have like 10 more minutes to do it, would you be in this room right now? You would be gone, because there would be a greater reason to go out, and that would be it. Now, there is a world called decision. Decision comes from the word decide. Decide is from the root side, which means to exterminate, like pesticide. Okay? The word side means to exterminate, to eliminate. Did I say exterminate? It means to eliminate. So, like genocide is to eliminate a nation, homicide is to eliminate a person, pesticides to eliminate pests. And what you'll notice with the word decide is that whenever you make a decision, you do a quick process of elimination. You eliminate all options, and then you decide on one option. That's your decision. But the issue is like this. We live often in decision mode, which means new reasons can pull me out of my decision. It's not a very safe place to be, the world of decision. You're always vulnerable to new reasons. Is that clear? Okay, that's the world of decision. Now, there's a whole other world waiting for you, and it's called the world of commitment. Okay, so there's a world of decision. I'll put over here. Normally, I'm using a whiteboard, but there's a world of decision, and then there's a world of commitment. Most people live in decision. If any of you have been married only a few years, you're probably still in decision mode about your husbands. And the proof is they can upset you, and you just shut down. Or you can upset them and they shut down. One or the other, but you're both in decision mode. You're probably at this age, you might be also in decision mode about your parents. What's that mean is that you can have super short conversations with them when they call. Conversation that looks something like this. Hello? Oh, Mom. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's really bad timing. Yeah, I'm really busy right now. Yeah, I'll try to talk to you later. Quick. That's decision mode. Okay, I did that for 2 decades with my father. It's decision mode. So decision mode means reasons stop me, reasons pull me out of things. But then there's this whole other realm, which is the most amazing realm, and that's called commitment mode. And commitment mode is not based on reasons. Decision mode is based on reasons. Let's say these are the reasons, and then I make a decision. Then there's commitment mode. Commitment mode is where there are no reasons. I'm in and I don't care why anymore. I'm in no matter what. Like, for example, when I became observant through Aisha Torah originally, so becoming observant had the most reasons. So I made a decision. But over time, it became a commitment no matter what. You see a lot of people are in decision mode regarding their Yiddishkeit. You know, if they're upset enough, they're not going to daven much of a shachris. Maybe they won't daven at all. Maybe they don't put on their tefillin, or maybe it only gets on in the afternoon. Maybe they're not going to do their daily routine as well. They're in decision mode. But then there's commitment mode where you're in no matter what. No reasons can ever take you out. Can you imagine being married like that? What an awesome place to be married from, is being a committed wife no matter what. So you just stay strong all the time, no matter what's going on. He comes late, he comes early, he brings home money, he doesn't bring home money. His phone was off all day by accident. You know, no matter what happens, you're there. I'll give you an example on the opposite side of a decision mode husband. Decision mode husbands, what happens is when a woman's feeling insecure, so she may dig in a bit into her husband when she's feeling insecure. It's a weird thing to do, because if you want to feel more secure, the last thing you should be doing is digging into your husband. But I don't know what it is. When women are feeling a little insecure, that's when they dig in. Yeah, and so they dig in. Now the husband, who's also in decision mode because he's never learned how to go to commitment mode, husband's in decision mode. Now he's getting attacked. And he doesn't know what to do. Now, when people are attacked, they usually go one of 2 ways. They either go into fight mode, or they go into flight mode. Fight mode or flight mode. Now, fight mode, you know what that's going to be like. You know? Basically, he's just going to make you wrong. And if he learns Gemara, he will succeed. Okay? He will succeed. Men who learn Gemara can make you wrong even when they're wrong. They'll figure out why you're wrong. Okay, now, if you were feeling insecure to begin with, and now you've got a husband making you wrong with Talmudic agility, how are you feeling now? Now you're feeling secure? Now, you just went from insecure to like really insecure. You know, excellent job. Good job. Just go ahead, bravo. Yeah, or there's fight mode. What's the other mode? Flight mode is you dig in, and you're married more to a curl up into a little potato bug and roll away husband. So he just he goes to the room, or he goes to the bathroom for like 2 hours, or he says he's going out to learn, or he's going to mincha for the next 5 hours or something, and he just goes into flight mode. How are you feeling now? You started insecure, now how are you feeling with a husband who just turned into a puddle of water, you know, that rolled away? More insecure, less insecure? Even more insecure. So you realize, like, we're insane. We're insane, and we do the same crazy stuff, us men. That's all decision mode living. Now, I've been married 21 years, thank God, to my lovely tzedekis, and we've been at this for so long that she catches herself. If she's feeling insecure, she knows to come to me in commitment mode and just to come and get that reassurance. She comes straight in for the reassurance. Okay, once in a while she forgets herself. She is a Jewish woman. Okay, she forgets herself and she digs, you know, the pitchfork in and turns it, you know, a little bit. And now it's up to me, because she obviously can't hack it, so she's now dug in. And what's my job now? I've got fight, flight, or what? Just stay committed. Just stay committed and be there. And just listen. And just listen and listen. I don't make her wrong. And she could be very wrong, and I'm just not going to say a word. Just listen, listen, listen. And when she's done, I mean, I'll tell you an example. About 2 months ago, I don't think in the last 2-3 years she dug in that hard. She dug in hard. I went to the mikveh. I came back. I was just getting my tefillin, but I didn't get out for another half hour because she went for it, you know, and it was intense. And I'm just like, it was like Rocky, and I was like, and taking these major shots to the chin and to the abdomen, but I live in commitment mode with my wife. I'm not a newlywed. I'm not still in decision mode where I let her send me in a fight or flight mode. I just stayed there, solid, committed. I'm in. No matter how she's feeling, I'm in. And I just stayed in. So after the half hour was over, I'm like, you know, it's my last chance to go hit this minion. I was, you know, they were probably after Baruch Hu at this point, but I was like, you know, I got a little more time. I'd like to hit this minion. And she was like, okay. And I grabbed my tefillin. I went to daven. I came home like tiptoeing through the doorway to just like get my stuff and get out, you know. Well, you know, I was hoping the coast is clear, but no, she opens the door. And she says to me, would you like an omelet? How about some freshly squeezed orange juice? And I'm just like, huh? Sure. And next thing I know, I'm eating like a king, and she's just sitting there staring at me like, you know, like we got married an hour ago. It's like Sheva Brachos. That kind of stuff doesn't exist until you get to commitment mode. And you're able to really be there, committed no matter what. You stay on the phone with your mom. You stay on the phone with your dad. You connect to siblings who you used to think dominate you, but really they're just your siblings, and you don't have to be in such, you know, story land over them. They probably miss you very much, and you just stay in commitment mode. It's a very beautiful place to be. It's a very solid place to be. Now, your highest, one last thing, is commitment mode is where you get siyata d'shmaya. You want siyata d'shmaya? Be in commitment mode. Hashem favors committed people, period. Hashem favors committed people. You want to see the magic in life? Be in commitment mode. See, people in decision mode, Hashem never knows what he's got with you, because like you're in, you're out, you're all around. There's no way to predict. So he doesn't necessarily work with you with, you know, a lot of divine assistance, because you're never committed to anything. But when you're committed to life in a big way, Hashem makes things happen. He simply makes things happen. I have no doubt, by the way, Lefi, like Teva, there's no way I would have been here at 11:15. There's just no way. Where I was to get here at 11:15 is just no way. But my commitment created, I don't know what the siyata d'shmaya was. I just drove here, but I'm sure like stuff like was like getting out of my way. If we could have watched it from a satellite, we would have seen God like moving trucks and stuff and buses and stuff, just making it happen that I would show up here at the exact right time. And I didn't run any red lights or drive illegally to get here. I'll give you an example of what I mean by large siyata d'shmaya. Large siyata d'shmaya for committed people. The best example I can think of is my neighborhood and community where I pray and stuff. It's a shidduch system where the couples only meet for about 45 minutes before they get engaged. It's a 45-minute meeting. It's just to make sure you're not like repulsed by each other. And if you're not repulsed by each other, then you're engaged. So my daughter, Baruch Hashem, she was 17 years old. They both liked each other right on the get-go. That's it. Nama's 80. Yeah. So here in this situation, because she's in, the potential kala is in, and because he's in, the potential groom is in. So so Hashem has to make sure it's the right people. It has to be Siyata D'Shmaya, because they're both in. And so now Hashem has to make sure it's the right zivug. It's a little less so, but the similar in your dating situation, in the yeshivish dating situation, similar situation. Because most people, if it's good, they're going out again. That's the rule. If it's good, you're going out again. And if it's good, you're going out again. And if it's good, you're going out again. It's a very good system. It's an excellent system. As long as it's good, you go out again. No matter what you're feeling, you go out again as long as it's still good. And you see what develops. Excellent system, Siyata D'Shmaya. Because I'm committed that if it goes good, I'm going again. I'm not going with the cold feet, disappear, get out mode. Now, when you look at the secular world, that is a great example of non-Siyata D'Shmaya dating. Because what happens? No one's committed to anything. And so Hashem would be doing a disservice to soulmates to have them meet. Because what's going to happen? They're both going to, they're in this whole non-committal mode type of dating. And the chances are it ain't going to go. It's just not going to go. And since it's most likely not going to go, and no one's coming in committed to make it go if it's going well, so it would be a waste of time for Hashem to bring zivugim together. And so hence, I did a singles event many years ago in Manhattan, in Aish Manhattan, and I was expecting the ages to be, young 20s, young professionals, young 20s to 35. The youngest person of the people who showed up to that Shabbaton, 200 people came to the Shabbaton, the youngest person in the room was 40. It was basically 40s to 60s. That's the single scenes of the Upper West Side. Why should Hashem send a zivug for a person just to get cold feet and go the other way? Now, we've spoken about a lot of things. Let me back it all up. We spoke about the word. The word is your integrity of speech, that everything happens with the word, and your integrity of speech is where the Siyata D'Shmaya happens, because your greatest good, remember then the law of economy, you only trade a lesser good, ladies, you only trade a lesser good, come on, look alive here, for a greater good. And what I want to share with you now is that the greatest good is your word. The greatest good in your life is your word. It's worth anything. And even if you have to lose money because you said you'd do something, lose it. You'll get much more later. It builds your muscles to have integrity of speech so much that people will pay for it because you can be dependent on you're a person whose word is gold, and that is something that everyone can depend on, and you will make much more money. Back to our story. So there he was in the Las Vegas airport, and he missed his flight. So the only thing left to do is call his wife. So he pulls out his phone, and then he remembers from the possible you that you can have large Siyata D'Shmaya. Large Siyata D'Shmaya for people who are committed, who are unreasonable. That's the term, unreasonable. They don't let reason stop them. See, he had every reason to call his wife and apologize. He had every reason. But he's unreasonable. What does it mean, unreasonable? Normally it means bad, right? Like someone who's stubborn. In this case, unreasonable means good. It means I'm unreasonable. I don't let reason stop me. And so when he pulled out his phone to call his wife, he remembered as a graduate of the Possibility Seminar that he will, if he's unreasonable, he'll get Siyata D'Shmaya. So he pulls open his phone, and instead of calling his wife, he Googles the words fast jet. You figure he hasn't missed the plane yet. So all he needs is a fast jet. Turns out that there was a company called FastJet. And he presses the call button, calls FastJet. He says, do you have a jet here in Las Vegas? They said, we do. He says, can you get me to LAX to this particular flight? They said, we could try. How fast can you get over to the terminal? He says, I'll run there now. Do you want to know how much this is going to cost? And he said, no, thank you. And they said, well, get over here quick. And so he raced through the terminal. He gets in there, and he gets in his private jet, which shot him to LA. He gets to the tarmac. He didn't have time even to go in the terminal. They brought him in a car from the tarmac straight to the LO flight. They held the LO flight for like 20 minutes and literally waited for him. He processed him at the door of the plane. He went up the stairs where they put our bags, those strollers, down those staircases. He brought him up those stairs, processed him in the door of the plane, and he sits down. in his first class seat, and his price, so he sat at that Shabbos table, sitting across from his wife, and what a pleasure. He said it was one of the greatest Shabbos meals he's ever had, because it was a Shabbos meal of integrity. It was a Shabbos meal that was the function of integrity, of keeping his word, unreasonable. Motzei Shabbos, he looked at the price of the ticket. It was $7,000 to fly to LA. A wealthy businessman. It was worth it. It was worth it. He never complained a bit. He said it was the greatest money he ever spent for the greatest Shabbos he ever had. And it was all based on integrity and being unreasonable. But what I wanted to say to you is you never lose. When you make your word your greatest commitment, that's the greatest good, you never trade it. When you make your word your greatest good, not only do you get siyata d'shmaya, but it pays off in the future. And it wasn't more than 2 weeks later that half the money changed in Israel was shifted over to his financial company. Meaning he didn't work in money changing, but he did work in finance. And all the banks that he worked with in America were so fed up with the Israeli money changers and dealing with shenanigans going on there, and they were getting scrutinized by the US government and stuff. And they finally said, you know what, the one guy we could trust, I'm not going to say his name, is this particular guy. And they called him up and they said, are you willing to open up a whole new business and be the funnel for all the money changed in Jerusalem and all around, like literally half the money changed in Israel all goes through him now. And he opened up a whole new business based on this 2 weeks later. You never lose. When you make your word your greatest good, you never lose. As I said earlier, everything exists in words. There's no way to protect a child, and in this case the child was you, so you got to go back 20 years. But there's no way to protect a child beyond your own home. You know, once your kid's out in school and you make sure she gets picked for every play, and like make sure she gets the best part, and to make sure she reads properly when it's her turn to read, and to make sure nothing embarrassing happens. You can't do that. There's no way to protect our kids from all that. I'm sure they'll come up with something. Like, I'm sure there's going to be like body cameras now. Now police have body cameras. So like, I imagine your kid will have a body camera. And you'll just, based on how many kids you'll have like screens at home. So like if you have 8 kids, you have 8 screens. Yeah, and each kid will have a little microphone and a little camera, and you'll have a microphone and a headset, and you'll have like 8 screens, and you'll like help each one. You'll press that button and you'll be like helping them read the piece that they're reading. It has a little camera so you can watch it and make sure they don't, if they make a mistake, it could be embarrassing. Everyone could laugh or whatever, so. Just kidding. We're never going to be able to do this with our kids. Now, the bumps and bruises that we got as kids, locked in. That's the point. That's the work we're going to do. The bumps and bruises we had as kids, locked in for us. And there was, today, if you're feeling sad or something happened, it was a bump or a bruise you got during the day, you're smart enough to know that you just purge it, you let it out. Like when your husband comes home, you talk about it, you call your friends and talk about it, you send an email and you get it out, But when you're that little kid with your big eyes and this little kid, and something happened in school or in the playground or wherever, it could be it was a Pesach, holiday or whatever, and you were a little kid and something happened there, you don't get it out. You just hold it in. And the next thing is that kids internalize everything. So not only do they not take it out, but whatever it is, even if it had nothing to do with them really, they still nevertheless believe it did have everything to do with them. For example, if I was not able to read a piece because I was feeling nervous, and then I blew it, and the kids in the class laughed, I'm going to feel like an idiot. That's it. I'll feel like an idiot. Now, am I an idiot? No, it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with me. I stuttered while I read. Or I don't get picked for, not only I didn't get the starring role, they didn't pick me at all for the whole show. So I just, got dissed from the show. Now, does that mean now you're a loser? Are you now a loser? Can you imagine your kid coming home if they only would talk, because they don't talk, but if they'd only talk and your kid came home and said, I'm a loser because I didn't get picked for the play? What would you say, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. You really are a loser. Would you say that to your kid? No, you'd say there's a limited number of parts. You'd try to reason with them as best as you could. There's a limited number of parts. You can't always get the part. So this time you didn't get the part. Next time maybe you'll get the part. You'd work it out with them. You'd iron out the situation. Problem is, they don't talk. You'd be lucky to know there was even a tryout. If you're lucky, you'd find out there was a tryout. And then you got to remember of all your kids which one had the tryout that day to even ask them about it in the afternoon. They don't talk. They don't talk. They just have these big eyes, and they're looking at the world, and they're just like, oh no. Like, how am I going to survive the next 80 years of my life now that this is true? This is what happened to all of us. All of us had these moments in our lives where we said words. The world occurs in words. And we said words internally. We didn't have the ability to get it out. And those words lodged in. And so our first Chavrusaschaft that we're going to have is just to share one situation where any situation you had, you don't have to go so heavy because we're not like committed in a big seminar program. In the seminar, I'd prefer you do a little heavier stuff. But just one situation where something happened and you said certain things about yourself. So what happened and what did you say? Okay? What? No, you're going to have chavrusas.
But you actually said the words in your past, you're saying?
Oh, you said them in your heart, like it was in your heart. I'll give you an example. Like my little brother was born, and I was like, the spotlight just went off of me and onto him, and I had this feeling of like, I'm unlovable. I'm just unlovable, because all the love was going to him, and I was just this unlovable kid. That's an example. Another example, my father, he's a very math-like structure guy. Everything's numbers and structure and stuff like that. And I was his nightmare kid with the artistic brain. I'm a right brain thinker. I don't think left brain very much. I'm a very right brain creative thinker. And so I never understood what he was talking about. And so even though he never said anything critical of me, to me I was like, I think my thing was I was dumb. I just didn't get what he was talking about. So I thought, my inner voice was, I'm dumb. So I had unlovable, dumb. Also, I had a humiliating thing happen to me when I was 10. I was terribly embarrassed. Things happen, you get embarrassed. And I had my most embarrassing moment happen when I was 10. And there, in that embarrassing situation, the voice I had was, I'm a loser. That was the voice I had inside. So I had dumb, I had, also incapable, because clearly my dad's this capable guy, and he knows math and structure, and so I must not be capable. So these are all limiting beliefs. Dumb, unlovable, incapable, loser from that embarrassing situation. I felt like such a loser. I was humiliated in front of the coolest kid of my brother's class. 3 years older. And I was in a very embarrassed situation and felt like such a loser in his presence. Let me just remind us all that we're here to serve God. And it's really hard to serve God when you're saying stuff about yourself like that. It's kind of hard to be clear and really serve the Creator. You get that? I just catch you up. Ladies, when you're here to serve God, so you really got to be a clean vessel, a clear vessel. The clearer you are, the more you serve God. The clearer you are, the more you connect with your husband, the more you connect with your kids, the more you connect with your parents. You want to be clear. And what you'll notice now is think about whatever you shared with the person you're talking to, and you'll realize that it's hard to connect if you're saying that about yourself. Just take a moment, just leave one in, contemplate. Like, how do you really connect to somebody if that's what you're saying about yourself? How do you really connect to yourself if that's what you're saying? See, all of us are just children size large. We're all just kids size large. They don't go away, these voices. So then how do we connect with Hashem if we're saying this about ourselves? It's kind of a wild thought. And this is one of the most powerful things I get to do in the Possible You is I get big Ovdei Hashem, like big Ovdei Hashem. You know, mashgichim, Rosh Yeshivas. I had 17 Dayanim do the program. And you can be like the big Oved Hashem, but you start to realize, wait a second, if I'm saying this about myself, that means that I'm not very clear as a being. I'm not a clean vessel, clear vessel, to be connecting. Everything in life is about his kashrus, connecting. Your marriage is about his kashrus. Your avodas Hashem is about his kashrus. Your relationship to your children, it's all his kashrus. If the his kashrus is there, everything works. But it's very hard to be miskasher when we have voices, words. Remember, the world occurs in words. When there's words being said in our own minds and hearts that get in the way of that. Now, is anyone courageous enough? I shared 5 about myself. And I'm the rabbi. I'm on film for a network. Okay, I shared 5 about myself. Is anyone here courageous enough to share? Oh, very good. Okay, not to be on film. Don't worry. Yeah, go ahead.
So it's more when, like, recently. So my mum is very organised and very, like, she has, like, Shabbos is prepared, like, she's got chicken in the freezer, kugels in the freezer, soup in the freezer, everything. Like, she's very organised. And me, I'm not very, like, I haven't been very organised when I got married, and we're always doing things very last minute, very close to Shabbos. You know.
Food's fresh, not coming from a freezer.
Yeah, but you know, it's like I get into the shower like 20 minutes before I have to like
stressful.
handle, and it's very stressful. And I think that like I sometimes think to myself, I'm not a good housewife, or I'm not a good wife because I can't be on time and be as organised as my mother. I can't be like my mother, and therefore there must be something wrong with me.
Right. So it's not as good as. The words would be, if you're taking notes, it'd be not as good as, or it would be something like damaged goods or something, meaning there's something wrong with me. I'm like damaged. Like my mom's what is the way to do it, and I am some lesser being here. And also, what does my husband think about all this? Yeah. Okay, excellent. Anyone else? Time for another share? Someone else got some courage? We clap for courage, by the way. Always clap for courage. Anyone else? Come on, one more share. Share. Oh, okay, great. I had a feeling you were going to go. Okay.
I always hung out with like the older crowd growing up. Like more mature, I have a lot of older brothers, and I think I always felt like uncool though, no matter what. Like I was either much like firmer than them or younger or whatever. It was never good enough. So I always like label myself like uncool.
Uncool.
Or not fit in.
Excellent. Or not fit in. Misfit. So I would write uncool or misfit. Now, by the way, it started way before now. It's just what happens is marriage magnifies our stuff. When you're single, you can like somehow have everything like all buttoned up. But when you get married, it all just kind of leaks out. Like we just like spring leaks all over. And marriage is this amazing way of just kind of unbuttoning these little voices inside of us and these words inside of us that they ooze out when we're married. Anyone can be a great bacher. Anyone can be a great bachara. But when we get married, it's just like a couple weeks later, a couple months later, boom, there it is. It all comes out. Now, okay, stage 2. Stage 2 is now it's a personality chess move that we make where we do some kind of thing to compensate for that original voice, meaning what we just shared in Chavrusas is what we're going to call voice 1. So that we're going to call now voice 1. And you actually have a voice 2. For every voice 1, you have a voice 2. And your voice 2 is a way to deal with it. It's a way you compensate for it. And it's a personality move. It's a chess move. So it'd be like this. It would be like somehow you're playing chess. So somehow like your queen's in danger of the opposing team. And you have to do some kind of moves to protect her to make sure she doesn't get, taken off the board. And so when we had that original voice, we feel like, how are we going to make it? How will I even survive? And so what we do is we come up with a voice 2, which is in psychology is called a compensatory voice, which is a compensating voice to never let us feel the voice 1. So I'll give you a couple examples. In my unlovable voice that happened when my younger sibling was born, I came up with a voice 2 of being charming. And I was this charming little kid. I was like 3 years old, and my parents learned by the time I was 5, just when they said no to me, I would charm them into a yes. And they learned when I was 5, just so they would say just, don't even talk. And they would stare at me like this, both my parents. Just knowing that they don't want to hear it because they know I'll convince them. Otherwise, I will charm them until they let. So that was a move I made. There's no reason a 5-year-old had to be that charming, except I had to be that charming because now, the other thing is I was a performer immediately. I immediately became a performer, and to this day I'm performing. And that's how I moved into performing, was because, I'm not loved anymore, so if I perform and they're clapping, it must be I'm loved. Yeah? Of course, when you grow up, you think attention means love, but that's the way all of society makes you think attention is love. If you get enough attention, you must be loved, when we all know that it's the total counterfeit of the real stuff, of real love. For the loser part, when I had that loser embarrassing thing happen to me when I was 10, so my voice 2 was cool. Speaking of cool, my voice 2 was cool, and I would be the coolest guy. I went basically from 10 years old till I was 23. For 13 years, all I did was cool. Surfed the biggest waves, drove the fastest cars, and drove them the fastest. And I'm not going to go into all the other details of being a California kid, but it was cool. And it was so over the top, ridiculously dangerous, half the stuff I was doing. And of course, later when I got to Aish HaTorah, I'm in a yeshivish community. How cool do you think it is to be cool in a yeshivish community? What's it rate on a scale of 1 to 10 being cool in a yeshivish community? Maybe 2. Next thing you know, I'm a masmid. Now my voice 2 is I'm a masmid, and I was learning. I would leave Shabbos tables early because of Bittelsman. I'd be in the middle of a Shabbos table, and I'd bench and go back to the Beis Midrash. Yeah, and it's ridiculous. I'm the perfect guy to have at your Shabbos table. I sing, tell good deep Torah and stuff. But I would end my Shabbos meals early to go back to learn as a buffer. Masmid. So you see, cool didn't work anymore, so I just morphed into masmid. And later I realized there's this whole Hasidic world who still thinks I'm a goy. So what I'll do is I'll become a Hasid. And got married in the Streimel, and I'm a Hasid now. And now I won't be a loser because I'm a masmid who can be cool if they need me to be, but I'm mainly a Hasid now. I'm a Kodesh. Long Shmoneh Esrei, and very deep Torah, and I'll be a Kodesh. So these are ideas of compensatory voice, but you can have negative ones. Those are all positive ones. Regarding the incapable that I got from growing up with my dad, so I had a negative voice of flake. You know what a flake is? Irresponsible, like a flake. So I would flake out on all details of life. Life has a lot of details, and I would just let the details run until they would just catch up with me. And I wouldn't deal with details of life. Anyone know what I'm talking about when you don't deal with details? Yeah, I don't do details. So that was another move I made. The others were positive. I'm gonna be cool. I'm gonna be a masmid. I'm gonna be a chassid. I'm going to be a kodesh. Whereas this is now a negative one of I'm going to avoid details, like life's details, all the bills and financials and all that stuff that life requires. You have to be detail-oriented. Speaking of being detail-oriented, yeah, I blew off all the details. And that was another move I made, because then if I blow off the details and it blows up in my face, it's not because I'm incapable, it's just because I never dealt with the details. It never made me incapable, and that was a way of protecting myself from ever being incapable. Clear? But what I'd like you to contemplate, ladies, is take a moment and think about what it is you did, whatever move you made, and then think again about the point of all creation. What's the point of all creation? What is it? Connection. The whole point of creation is connection. Connection to yourself, connection to others, connection to your spouse, connection to your kids, and most importantly, connection to Hashem. And now think about the second voice, the move you make. Think about the move you make and realize, just take a moment and consider that connection's impossible. Impossible. It's not possible. Real, clear connection, just not possible. Anyone saying that, it's not possible. I'll give you a few examples. If I'm doing a charming thing, you realize I have to put on the charm. And now when I put on the charm, am I being real or am I being charming now? What do you say? I'm being charming, not being real. So then there's no one to connect to. If I'm doing cool or masmid or kodesh or any of those things, there's no way to connect to me. I'm so busy, I'm so in that move, there's nothing to connect to. In the icy shadows of the moves we make, connection becomes impossible, and becomes a disappointment, an inner gnawing disappointment in our lives, in our marriages, in our parenting, in our being children of parents, in our avodas Hashem. There's a gnawing, painful kind of impossibility to achieve that which is the most profound need and desire in our hearts, and that is to connect. And what's it all from? Words. Words that were spoken in our own hearts, in our own minds, when we were little kids, in the most random situations. Like, it's good my brother was born. It's good my father's structured. It's okay that I got embarrassed when I was 10 years old. That's not that big a deal. Kids get embarrassed. It's random stuff. You start to realize random stuff, locked in thoughts and feelings about ourselves that have no real basis for anything that would be true about us. They're just occurrences that happen, but because we were those little kids who lacked the ability to share and release it the way you do as an adult, where you just, when things hurt, you just share and release. We didn't have that ability. And so we held it in. And then we made those moves. And now what happens is someone who wants to be in a relationship with you is really relating to your moves more than anything else. And so you have people have a relationship with your moves. Inside of all that is you. And inside of all that is a tremendous breakthroughs in connectivity. Connection to Hashem, connection to a spouse, connection to kids, connection to a community, connection to your friends. Like real, true connectivity, which is your deepest desire. So this was the first installment of Taste of Impossible You. Please God, we'll meet again. Invite friends, and perhaps, you know, at the right time, we'll take you through the whole experience to really have the breakthrough that comes with the hours of the possible you. Thank you very much. Shalom.